Yesterday I taught you that pastors have to learn to function within boundaries, both geographical boundaries and people group boundaries, and even within the boundaries of what the people's faith will allow them to accomplish within their life at that time. Even Jesus said, I have much more to teach you, but you can't take it right now. As people's faith grows, our boundary of what we can accomplish within their life grows. But Paul then leads into this next passage where he talks about a godly jealousy for the people. Because obviously there were others who were not sticking within their lane. They were not sticking within their boundaries. Have you ever been driving down a highway, like South Superhighway, Skyway, and there's some person who just keeps creeping over into everybody else's lane and pushing cars away? You look at that and you get kind of frustrated by the guy. Can't you stay in your lane? In the same way, there are pastors who start churches who can't stay within the boundaries of what God has given them to do. Instead, they want to step over into something that somebody else has already built and developed. And then if a good pastor who's been there and has been doing this gets upset, he's just jealous. He thinks he owns the sheep. Now, we've all heard these stories, but let's see what Paul says about it. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, beginning with verse 1. I hope you'll put up with a little bit more of my foolishness. Please bear with me, for I am jealous for you. Paul said, I'm jealous for you, with a jealousy of God himself. I promised you as a pure bride to one husband, Christ. Now, Paul said, listen, I was the matchmaker in here. I was the go-between. I was the bridge. He said, I brought you into a relationship with Christ, and I promised you to him. He said, now there's these other people that are stepping into your spiritual life, and they're messing up what I've been working on and developing in your life. He said, so I'm jealous. I'm jealous because I promised you to Christ. But he said, more than that. He said, I fear, verse 3, that somehow your pure and undivided devotion to Christ will be corrupted, just as Eve was deceived by the cunning ways of the serpent. Now remember, corruption here, to corrupt means a slow decay of like rust. He said, these people have stepped into your life. And he said, I'm jealous of you because I developed a pure devotion to Christ. And he said, I developed an undivided devotion to Christ in your life. And now there's other people that are speaking in your life. He says in verse 4, you happily put up with whatever anyone tells you. He said, you're not discerning and you're listening at all. He said, you eat whatever spiritual food people want to shove down your throat. He said, you happily put up with whatever anyone wants to tell you. Even if they preach a different Jesus than the one we preached, or a different kind of spirit than the one you received, or a different kind of gospel from what you believed. He said, but I don't consider myself inferior in any way to these super apostles who teach such things. He said, I may be an unskilled speaker, but I'm not lacking in knowledge. We have made this clear to you in every possible way. Paul said, now these A-listers, these celebrity preachers, the cool dudes, he said, they're coming along. And Paul said, you know what? I may not be a cool dude and I may not be eloquent and articulate. Paul said, I've taught you truth. I've communicated knowledge to you. He said, these guys are coming along and you happily put up with it. You almost seem to enjoy it. And he said, you don't understand. They are corrupting the pure devotion to Christ that I taught you. They are corrupting the undivided devotion to Christ that I taught you. And he said, you're putting up with this. So he said, you know what? You're right. I'm jealous of you. You're right. I'm jealous of the attention these super apostles are getting from you because I've always pointed you to Jesus. And for them, it's all about them. For them, it's all about, we are the ones you've always been looking for. And Paul said, that's not what I taught you. I taught you that Jesus found you, sought for you and found you. I taught you what Jesus has done for you for your life. I've taught you about an undivided devotion, that you don't mess around with sin and then just go to church and try to make yourself feel better. Paul said, I've taught you right. So he said, you know what? You're right. I'm jealous. But I'm jealous of you with a godly jealousy. He said, because these people are messing up your spiritual life. Now that's what Paul felt like. That's what a good pastor should feel like. It's not about controlling the sheep. It's about you invested your life into pointing people to Jesus. And then some cool dude comes along and changes all of that. Doesn't change it instantly. It's a corruption. It's a slow change. Paul said, yeah, I'm jealous of that. Guilty. Young pastors, it's all right to be jealous for the people of God. Old pastors, it's all right to be jealous for the people of God because you care.